Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
I think you make a big jump. I think we made a jump this week. I think we were able to look at the game and see the things from last week that we didn't do well. Look at some players and see what their natural strengths are. We came out of the game healthy. And, you just start stacking days, right? We had 3 days and pads this week to really get some work done. So I think we'll just, we're getting a little bit better every day. We're trying to. I showed them the Bud Crawford, Errol Spence fight this week. And you see just the way, Terrence, Crawford goes out there to fight, and just the way he's just so stoic and stone-faced and methodical. And he's just closing the distance, biding his time. And then the ninth, he attacks. And so that picture of what that great, a great boxer, who's obviously local, but a great boxer looks like, that to me is what a great football team looks like. It's not emotional. It's not swinging from side to side. It's just very methodical and stoic and stone-faced. I'd say when I was at Temple going to Penn State, Penn State's really, really loud. It's a steel stadium. Even the double-ear thing hasn't worked. But I'd say the loudest place I've probably ever been would probably be Penn State. We're going to play a lot of night games. I think we're going to be a team that people want to have on national TV, primetime games, hopefully eventually. So we got to get used to it. But we'll come over here. We'll scatter some meals, give them some free time, and then when the time comes, be ready to go.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, Hunky, and I'm with Redcast Abby.
Hi.
Is that your hot take?
No, I forgot we did hot takes right away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, always hello back to you too.
Look, my brain is full of sand. No, hi. Yeah. Don't know if you guys know this, but we play a game on Saturday, and in that game, only one of the starting quarterbacks is Deion Sanders' kid. I'll let you guess which one.
It's very true.
No
Everything
hint.
you just said there was true, Abby. There's no doubt about
Factual.
that. I'm also with Redcast Boomer.
So there is a game this weekend. Are people excited for it? I don't know. I haven't gotten that feeling on social media or anything this week. So we'll see what we can do to rile everybody up today. So.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm sure we can figure out a way. It hasn't taken much on social media to get people riled up. Also with Redcast Rob.
Hey, look, I'm just happy to be 1-0 this week. And apparently our defense had less blitzes than the Germans did in World War II.
No, that's very true. Well, we had 0, so that's also true. I'm happy the balloons are back. So how about that, everyone? There's going to be balloons that you can buy on Saturday night, Nebraska versus Colorado, 6:30 on NBC. We're getting ready for it. All right. Rob, talk to us a little bit about Oktoberfest going on in September.
Well, so Kincaidor is hosting a Oktoberfest, and it's coming up here very, very soon. We do have it. It is going to be held in Stinson Park in Omaha on September 21st at 12 p.m. It's featuring bands like, sorry, I'm laughing at this every single time we read it, like Barry Boyce Band, Rascal Martinez Band, but most importantly, Anzi Crit and the Polka Tunes are going to be there. Yeah, so as far as I know, it's going to be a blast to be there. You can buy your tickets online. There's going to be all kinds of games that are going to be played in that. And then I'm also, sitting here and I'm laughing because there's going to be games like Hammerschlagen, Mastkruckstemmen for men and women. I'm not quite sure if there's a male and female pronunciation for that word. They're going to have, which I think is just cornhole, Shotsky, Connect 4, which I know that one, Yard Dice, and Jenga.
Awesome. And Rob, one of the games that's not going to be played that day is the Husker game, because
Husker game, yeah,
Friday night before against Illinois. So you can go down to Stinson Park in Omaha, spend the whole afternoon there, and you are not missing any Husker football action at the same time. So, and
admission's only $10 too. So quite frankly, it's totally worth it. You got to buy all your little drink coins before you go in or at the door. It is more expensive at the door to go, but again, Kincaidor's putting it on. And I will say this too, a shout out to Kincaidor. You maybe wanted to talk about this, Honky, but after our show or after the game on Saturday, Kincaidor hosted us at the beer house on their rooftop patio and set us up with an excellent view of the room. And we did a live show up there for our recap of the game. And it was great. I would have to say that my favorite part was the free beer. And just quick announcement, we will be doing something prior to the game against Northern Iowa next week as well in the same location.
Yeah, free beer and free pretzels. You can't beat that. Thank you so much to Kincaidor for that. And we look forward to coming back again. Kincaidor's located in Broken Bow, Grand Island, Omaha, Lincoln. In downtown Lincoln, they also have the beer house in addition to their tap room. And they also have Sideshow Spirits, which is down the street on P Street in their distillery in downtown.
What else is on P Street, Honky?
Well, the beer house was.
Well, that's true. And also Alumni Hall.
Oh, Alumni Hall, of course. Alumni Hall, you can see them on top here. I mean, we are just getting through all the ads right away. So
yes, we are.
There you go. All right. Well, let's pump the brakes. And that's a segment here that we're adding. And pump the brakes during the football season. We're going to go week by week and talk about the things that maybe, we got a little bit too overboard, or you're hearing things are going overboard nationally, whatever the narrative is. And I guess I'll start, maybe Boomer, I'll start with you, and then we can kind of go around the room. Are there any narratives going on, any things you're hearing that you're going to tell people pump the brakes on before they get too far down the road on it?
Well, it's certainly not Nebraska fans. I mean, we're obviously winning the Big Ten. We said that several times, after week one. But, it's week one. People do need to get there. I think the biggest one, Oregon didn't look good against Idaho. I mean, they struggled to score points, but they did move the ball well. At the first game, they're a lot better of a team than they looked. I would pump the brakes on saying Oregon's going to be some disaster or train wreck in the Big Ten. I think they'll be fine. So it's just an initial week. So.
Mm-hmm. And it was an interesting week for the Big Ten that way because they went 17-1. They only had the one loss, Minnesota, but there were some, I guess, unimpressive wins. Oregon being one of them. Michigan struggled for a while. Even Ohio State, before they blew out Akron, started off slow. Abby, how about you? Are there any pump the brake moments that you have?
Look, this is not going. This might not surprise anybody. I am pumping my brakes still on Cade McNamara at Iowa. Mm-hmm. I get it. They had a great second half in terms of their offense. They still scored 6 points in the first half. And then what happened is, who would they play? Indiana State got tired is most likely what happened, which is bound to happen. I just think when they get into teams that aren't going to get gassed and are going to continue to get to him, and I'm really sorry. This isn't because I'm a Nebraska fan. I just was not impressed. So I'm pumping the brakes on the Tim Lester era at Iowa after week one. Let's give them a couple more weeks, see how they do.
Well, don't forget, they'll get Kirk Ferentz back, so that could really spark the
there it
offense
goes
for
then,
week
yeah.
two.
There you go. Yeah. And Redcasters following along too. If you've got something you think we should pump the brakes on, put them in the comments section there. Boomer's following along there. So if you're following along on Twitter or X, Facebook, YouTube, throw it in there into the comments. Rob, do you have a pump the brakes?
I do. I think for those North Dakota State Bison football fans, I know you're 0-1, but you put a good effort out there against Colorado, and quite frankly, you were 4 yards away from winning the game. When I was walking through the Denver airport after the game, I walked through an entire gate full of Bison fans because the plane on Southwest was headed back to North Dakota. And I walked by and was just like, you guys had an excellent game last night. Great job. You guys should have won. And every single one of them yelled back to me, "Go Big Red," because I was just dressed head to toe in Husker gear. So as far as I'm concerned, pump the brakes on North Dakota's season being 0-1. I think they're going to be just fine and probably win another national championship this year.
Well, they'd appreciate that. It's been a couple seasons actually since they have won one. South Dakota State's been the more successful Dakota of the last couple of years, but they even went down to Stillwater last week and lost a game there. I don't know what in the world. I guess if I was pumping the brakes, I would tell every athletic director that is scheduling North Dakota State and South Dakota State to stop doing it. What is the upside to playing an FCS team that has a legitimate chance to beat you? I'm very happy with how Nebraska played last week against UTEP, but North Dakota State's a better opponent than UTEP is right now. So that would be my pumping the brakes, I guess, if I had one.
Yeah. Good advice, Honky. Yeah, I've never understood why you would schedule those teams. That's a lose-lose situation there. Yeah, there's no good way to come out of that.
So one of the other things that we did some of our ads earlier, but there's something else that to talk about that's on top of our screen right now. Another partner with the Redcast is up there, and that is the HuskerMax. So we're now going to be having our content posted over there on HuskerMax. In fact, a couple of our upcoming segments here are going to be powered by HuskerMax. And this first one here is by the numbers. And we're going to go to the stats matchup right over here, Nebraska and Colorado, the football stats matchup. You can go over to HuskerMax.com, and this all this content's over here. I mean, we've been going to this for years, but Boomer, Abby, Rob, as you look through this here, I mean, we can start at the top. This is direct Nebraska versus Colorado. We're 1-0 versus 1-0. I mean, the very top stat here, rushing offense, that might be the starkest difference between the two teams to begin with. Nebraska at 223 rushing yards, that ranks 36 nationally. Colorado at 59 rushing yards, they're 118th nationally. So, and then if we look at the passing offense, Nebraska's 284. So we ran for 223, we threw for 284. That's pretty good balance. We're the 43rd passing team in the country. Colorado threw for 445 yards. So they're the 4th passing team in the country. But when you look at that, we've talked about for years, balance and everything. Colorado, I don't even think they're trying to do balance. I'll start with you, Abby. You have a PhD. You are our stats person. You have worked with Matrix Analytical and all the stats that they've done. When you see inequity like that, when you see a balance versus an imbalanced team, I mean, what are some thoughts that kind of come across your mind with those?
I think I'm going to try to not view this as just like a Colorado viewpoint. When you're one-dimensional that way, I just think that makes you so vulnerable. That makes you incredibly vulnerable. And look, Colorado has got a very good quarterback. And we don't like to admit it. Shadour's a very good quarterback. Colorado also probably has, Travis Hunter is probably a top 5 draft pick. If he would if he would pick a side to focus the most on, offensive, defense, I'd feel better about it. But, his choice to continue playing every single snap. They have weapons. Those are their weapons there. Jimmy Horn Jr. is a good receiver as well. So they've got some weapons, but they are so one-dimensional. And that means their offense, to me, just sits on the edge of a knife. Couple bad plays, you get them going. You force, Shedeur to throw up the ball a lot more and not be as accurate. That's it. They're done because they don't have the O-line for a run game. And that, to me, on paper, makes them much easier to defend because you know what they're going to do. Yes, they're going to burn you. They're going to get big plays. But if you can get them to I don't know. To me, it just seems like they're so vulnerable to big losses because of it. If you don't have balance, you know what they're going to do every time. It's not hard to figure out that they're going to throw, 75%, 80% of the time. So that's what it says to me, is that they are a very, very vulnerable offense, despite being such a high power kind of air offense.
Rob, to that point, how important is it for Nebraska to start off strong in this game, not get behind early? If Nebraska gets even a little bit of a lead, if Nebraska's up 10-0 on these guys, how quick do they throw in the towel on running the football anyways? And does that make them one-dimensional just by default of them being down?
Quite frankly, I think that the best defense, maybe at this point, the second best defense, but very good for the defense is going to be our offense. Our first play, our first possession from scrimmages last weekend, I believe it took something like 6 minutes off the clock, right? We went there was only 9 minutes left on the clock when the first possession was over. That we're basically cutting down. Well, let's see. We're basically cutting down time of possession to almost like a 2-1 advantage, in the first half. And if we score on every single one of those possessions, let's say we get 3 or 4 possessions in the first half, whether it's field goals, if we're up, we put up 21, 17 points, whatever it is that we put up there in the first half, I think what we're going to see is our defense really, pinning their ears back. And we might even see a blitz.
Yeah, because isn't that maybe the most amazing stat from that last game of all of them was we didn't blitz a single time. 0.
Yeah, that's an incredible sign there that you can actually play a successful defense and not have to blitz. You know, you can stymie essentially an offense for almost the majority of the game, except for that one little weird turbo drive UTEP had, but otherwise they were just generally ineffective, on offense. And that's just a great sign when your defense can do that. Plus, you didn't have to reveal anything scheme wise. So Colorado has no film to prepare for any kind of blitz. So, and their old line is not good, as I think everyone's well aware in the first place. So they don't even have anywhere to practice for anything. So that's going to be a huge advantage, I think, going into this game as well. I mean, we have managed 8 sacks last year. I mean, that's not completely out of the realm of possibility this season again. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, right here to Rob's point, he talked about time of possession. I've got highlighted here on the HuskerMax stat comparison, and 5th in the country is Nebraska, 38 minutes, 32 seconds. Colorado's 121st in the country, 23 minutes, 16 seconds. North Dakota State came out right away in that game, and in the first half, I think had over 20 minutes of time of possession against them. So the idea of keeping them off the field, but then you can't let them have, at the end, they points beat you. So if they only have 8 minutes of possession, but they've scored a whole bunch, I mean, that's an issue too. But what UTEP did in one drive, their turbo drive, Nebraska never let them get back into that again. And I think that's the thing that's most important to us is you can't give them big, plays, and you got to tackle well in open space, all those things. If you do that, they're not going to try to run on us, especially if they get behind. So time of possession is important. I think being able to run the ball and control the clock, all those things are important there. But those are some stats I think that were big differences between the two.
And going back just real quick to what Rob had mentioned about our offense, like we saw that last year, that was the problem, right? Is that like our offense just could not stay on the field long enough to give our defense a break, or even to, like tire theirs down at all. They were fresh every time they came out because we kept giving the dang ball away, like every time. So I mean, even if it's to limit their looking at it, not just to limit their offense, but just wearing that defense down, because their defensive line is a little Swiss cheesy too. Like, let's be totally honest. Neither one of their lines looked particularly solid against North Dakota State. So even then, if you can wear down that defensive line, wear down maybe their backs and stuff by running, getting them to run a lot. I know Travis Hunter is like the most conditioned person in the entire world. I don't understand it. It's very impressive. But if you can get the rest of them, keep them moving, keep them working, that eventually, I mean, it sounds really bad. Is that not what Iowa does? Their defense just wears people down. And so that's another kind of, I think, incentive to them being so one-dimensional and us trying to hold on, have this longer time of possession, is we keep them off the field, but we wear down kind of their defense, which will just help us in the long run.
Yeah, we were saying that, Rob and I were saying that the post game last week. I mean, Rob, what's the best way to slow down Hunter on offense? What do you do?
It's beat him up on defense, man. I mean, last year we did that, right? We kept putting Fedoni on him, matching him up with Fedoni, and Fedoni was just, we'd run the ball, and Fedoni would just lay blocks on him over and over and over and over again. And if we got to keep doing that, and quite frankly, I was laughing the other day because somebody, I think it was a Twitter conversation or somewhere, and somebody said, he's 6'1", 185 pounds. Now, I am by no means a fat guy. Like I'm in pretty good shape. I'm 5'9", I'm 182 pounds. Okay. And like, if he's that tall and like 185 pounds and he's supposed to be muscular and a D1 football player, really, I get that being lean, mean, all that stuff is probably better for going back, back and forth on defense and offense. But at the same time, you got to throw a guy like Fedoni, or I'll get on a scale for you next time there, Boomer. But if you get a guy like Fedoni, or you get a guy even like Malachi Coleman on the outside, which he may not play this week, but any of our bigger wide receivers on him, matching up and just blocking him and just pushing him down to the ground and knocking him out of the way and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him over and over again, especially on a 6-minute possession, right? If we can get a few of those and we're just beating him up and we're coming up to the line, and every time you hit him, and then even a few times if you got to do some switches and put one guy where right up at the line, you just knock him on his route and then maybe switch up with a guy in the backfield or something like that, just to knock him off that. Just keep being physical with him, game over.
Well, that's the the film session that Mac and I did the other night was we focus on a lot of the different formations too. There'd be double tight sets, but it wasn't just 2 tight ends. It was 2 to the same side, or you'd have, Janirin Bonner, who last year's playing fullback for you, is out there in the slot, or you have 6'4", 220-pound guys like Nair and Banks. I mean, there's big bodied receivers now that if we want to throw that on Hunter, it's just, we can do what we did last year, except we can just do more of it and better of it. I mean, that's what I think. This is a game of physicality still. For all the rule changes over the years, it's still a game of physicality. And Nebraska was able to do some things offensively to Colorado last year when they weren't shooting themselves in the foot and fumbling it. They were being physical against that team. And Hunter didn't have a huge game against us, I think, in part because of that. And then defensively, Nebraska was physical against them. They had 8 sacks a year ago. I do think, back to Boomer's point, I think we are probably going to blitz a couple of times this week. We didn't show everything last week. We didn't need to. And I think that's going to be real interesting to watch what happens there. As far as defense goes here, our rushing defense, we gave up 56 yards, which is only good for 27th in the country. That's a little surprising, but it's early. But 56 yards. Colorado gave up 157 rushing yards, 95th in the country. They gave that up to an FCS school. So a very good FCS school, but an FCS school. Defensive.
Sorry. Can I caveat that real quick, Honky?
Yeah, go for it.
A lot of that, I wonder how much of that was QB scramble, which I don't know if Dylan can do. We haven't really seen him scramble that much. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what they give up when it's designed and the line is able to kind of push around for running. I think we'll get more. I mean, I think we'll be okay without having to make Dylan's, run a lot. But I just want to caveat that that quarterback kind of killed them, especially in the second half. He just ran through them and couldn't stop him.
Yeah,
that's just one guy, right? And I mean, we've got this 4-headed running back room right now that, for the first time since Iowa of 2022, we won a football game where our quarterback had negative rushing yards, had 1 carry for -6, obviously a sack. I mean, if we're going to run the football, we're going to run it with the guys with running in their title. We have pass defense as well here. We had 149 passing yards against us. That's good for 50th nationally. So we gave up 205 total yards, 29th nationally. Colorado gave up 292 passing yards to North Dakota State, 117th nationally. Their total defense was 449 yards, 112th nationally. So this is not a great defense. I mean, I guess I'm not, I don't know if someone tells me pump the brakes. It's only been 1 week, but I don't have any reason to pump the brakes on this. I don't have any reason to think that Colorado is going to be a real formidable defense against us, to be 100% honest. I think if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and do the things that we did a year ago, I think we're going to have some success moving the ball and keeping the ball and winning time of possession and running it.
That's a graphic I wish we had, Honky, the one that I saw somewhere on social media this week about what our first 8 possessions look like. And I mean, honestly, I could sit there and just say fumble, pass, interception, punt, whatever, in any order. And quite frankly, it would probably be just as close. And that's not going to happen this week. We're not gonna be that team again this year, and that's a big reason why it became such a blowout in the second half against Colorado, where we were in the game at halftime, and it was because our defense was constantly on the field. They were tired, right? And so this year we need to flip the script on them and just make sure that their defense is the one on the field, because they are not that good. They have one guy on defense, really. They have another guy who should be talented, but I guarantee you there's going to be at least 1 or 2 flags against him. And I wouldn't be surprised with 2 personal fouls getting thrown out of the game or something along those lines for Sanders Jr. there, because quite frankly, watching him play last week and the lack of flags being thrown by whoever was reffing that game while Colorado was at home was a little bit infuriating, only from a football. It had nothing to do with it being Colorado, but from a football fan standpoint, watching Hunter push off to get a few of those receptions, like 2 of his touchdowns were literally him pushing the defender off before he caught the ball. And then even Sanders on defense, like hitting guys laid out of bounds, hitting guys like as they were going out of bounds. There should have been a lot more flags thrown in that game, and they're not going to get away with that in Lincoln on a Saturday,
and not for a second week in a row. That's for sure.
That's right.
Too. I mean,
the refs saw the tape.
Yeah, refs watch tape as well. Boomer, before we get done here with our stats, a couple of them: kickoff returns. Here, I'm going to highlight this: punt returns and kickoff returns. Obviously, you're a special teams coordinator on the Redcast. Punt returns, we had 56 yards worth. No, we had 8.33. Is that per? I guess must be per return there. So 56th in the country. Colorado didn't have any yardage punt returning. They were 92. And then kickoff returns, 25 yards, average 25 yards. So for 26th in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, that's something we always talk about with special teams. It's those little bits that help you flip fields, that help you get, in a better position than you would be, especially once your defense, can stop the other opponent on, deep in their field. They're punting back to you. You're getting the ball closer to the 40, the 50. And that gives you a chance to just generate more points, to wear down the other team's defense. Just being able to have any kind of return game whatsoever, we saw it for 1 week. It's positive. It's better than it was last year. Let's see where it can go. So, And again, we saw nothing out of Colorado, so I'm not sure what to expect out of theirs.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into some predictions and NUCU predictions nationally and as well as around the room, do we have any comments right now, Boomer?
Yeah, we've got several. First off, Joe Schmo is that we absolutely have no objectivity, which really is surprising coming from a Husker fan podcast.
That's real funny. I don't know when we ever said we were going to have objectivity.
No, I mean, objectivity is subjective anyway, so yeah, we're good with it. So we do have that. What else?
Who Joe Schmo roots for?
I'm not sure yet, so it could be open. So.
Hey, any Buff fans, we welcome them to the podcast, and thanks for being out here today.
We do have Husk Jerry, so if we could take away a big play for you, can you stay disciplined taking 3 yards of play? Well, we'll find out. John T's, a little concerned if Colorado is going to try to injure, Dylan Raiola, much like Adrian Martinez in 2018. You would like to think teams wouldn't set out to do that, but you never know. So
you also wouldn't think 16-year-olds would have, never mind. I won't.
Well,
I won't say it.
You won't
say it.
That's good.
Sorry.
We're good. Yep. Time of possession, we've covered that. That's a big, going to be a big part of this game. It was big for North Dakota State. It'll be big for us here too. Limit their big playability and go from there. So.
Yeah. Well, Joe Schmo, we're not very objective. So let's show some of the people nationally that are, a lot more objective than we are. Let's start here with the CBS segment, and then we'll get into ours.
This one in Lincoln. This time around, Sportsline says that's a difference maker. Huskers by 11. Randy?
Huskers. Shadur's Buffaloes shucked the Huskers, and the prime effect was born. Nebraska fans love Raiola. I'm taking the children of the corn.
Ooh.
Nebraska's defense is going to destroy the interior O-line and everything that they have to do with the offense. They're going to show up bigger than that windscreen on Matt Rhule's headset.
Cornhuskers QB a year ago did his teammates in. He was the reason they lost. All those turnovers by their former quarterback. This young whippersnapper, Raiola, protects the rock, black shirts, repeatedly penetrate porous offensive line play of the Buffs, Cornhuskers.
Boy, I can see why Dion does not like CBS. Wow. those guys were not very objective, Joe Schmo.
No, I was going to say that those guys were. He thinks we're not objective. Jeez, those guys must not be objective either.
And isn't that a former Colorado coach picking us?
New Heisel, yeah. That's a very good point.
I am that person where I'm like, oh no, I don't like that everybody picked us. I have that anxiety. I'm nervous about this game, I'll be honest. And so everyone being like, yeah, Nebraska's like, okay, don't like that.
I'm starting to think Joe Schmo might be the dude from Twitter that I had to block today, who was obviously trolling, saying that he only read the stat line. He didn't watch the game because he just said, did Nebraska get new D linemen? Like, we don't have a good D line already. We were literally like one of the top defenses in the country last year, even only winning, 7 or 5 games and going 5-7. Like, give me a break.
Joe, we don't have new defense linemen. In fact, we have Nash Hutmaker back and Ty Robinson. Both of those guys could have gone pro last year. We have Cameron Leonard back. He was a freshman All-American a year ago. Jamari Butler's back here. We have
MJ
Sherman
back.
Tommy Hill's back. Yeah, come on. Let's go.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
Joe, get it together, Joe.
What is wrong with you?
Jeez, Joe.
So let's go to a little bit of NUCU predictions, also powered by HuskerMax. And again, this goes back to this is more than just the CBS people. It's more than just nationally here. Now, Joel Klatt, he has Nebraska losing 34-31 to Colorado. That's Joel's former stomping grounds there, Boulder. But Joel's been very good for Nebraska over the years. He's been very supportive. But I would say as we go through all this, I mean, this is College Football News, World Herald, Bleacher Report, former Buff has us losing 31-30. Carricker has us winning. College Football News has us winning. AP has us winning. A couple of Athlon guys, 2 of the 3 Athlon guys. Number fire, BCF Toys. I mean, we all know what BCF Toys, what that means there. D ratings.
They're super objective. Let's go. Come on.
ESPN FPI, very objective there. And we have a 60.3 winning percentage there, probability. Number fire has.
I think Klatt actually changed his tune at some point too, Honky. I believe that like a day or 2 ago, he actually said, "Look, this is why I think Nebraska might actually win this game." So,
Rob, let me tell you, I don't mind Joel Klatt despite his terrible choices in college, but I watched his show and it's very confusing because I've watched a couple of them. The one where he kind of went off on Dion for not having good clock management, which shocking, clock management matters. And then watched the one where he was heaped praises on Dylan and the team and how well we looked. Great. And then watched today's where he was just like, look, Nebraska's got the defensive line. Nebraska's got the offensive line. Nebraska's got this. Nebraska has, a better coach, all of this. But Colorado has these 2 players, and that's what's going to make the difference. And it was like, Joel, here's the thing. I don't care if people pick Colorado. It's fine. That's not even a rational pick. You think 2 players are going to impact the team so much. And not only that, he picked Colorado to score more points against Nebraska than they did North Dakota State.
On the road.
I like Joel, but I was like, this feels irrational. This feels stupid, Joel. So I don't know.
No, it didn't feel stupid. It was stupid.
If there's anything that makes me feel good here, Pat 40 has Colorado winning 31-30. So that alone makes me feel very confident in the Huskers this weekend. Pat 40 won against us. Those are some NUCU predictions powered by HuskerMax. How about our predictions here? I mean, we're a couple days away now from the game. We've had enough time to consume a lot of media and I'm sure rewatch the game multiple times and break all kinds of things down. Whether you want to give a score or just your thoughts on how the game's going to go. Rob, I'll start with you and kind of go around the room.
Do you want like a score prediction? Is that what
we're doing here? You say however you want to do it.
I think we come out strong on defense. We get at least 1 defensive score. I should say defensive/special teams score. And we win 35-17.
35-17. Boom.
Yeah. Again, it just comes down to the turnover game. As long as Dylan plays a game that we think he can and just keeps control of the ball, I think Nebraska, kind of wears Colorado down. Colorado will score some points, but I think this is going to be about a 34-21 win for Nebraska.
Abby?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think I've been trying. I told you guys this. I need somebody to kind of like bring me back down because since that UTEP game, I'm just like, this isn't even going to be a game. Why show up? So I have to be brought down a little bit. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring just because of time of possession. So I think it's going to be more of like a 28-31 Nebraska, 17-21 Colorado. I think Nebraska wins. I don't know if the spread really has gone up to 11. I don't know that I trust that. 5.5, I trust it. Yeah, I think we win, but I don't think it's not a blowout either way.
I'm really confident. I just feel like this team is the Huskers. Coach Rhule, year 2, he's preaching the right things. These guys aren't, they're not trying to play outside of themselves. They didn't try to do things a week ago that, irregardless of who the opponent was. I just think he has them ready to go. This is a physical team. This is a team that's a really good front seven, Joe Schmo. This is a team that's going to be hard to run on. They tackle really well in open space, and that has nothing to do with it being UTEP. That has everything to do with them practicing tackling. We've seen this program when it didn't tackle in practice, and we saw Bill Bush become defensive coordinator 4 games into a season, and all of a sudden they started doing it, and we saw the difference. This is a team that's, and actually Asian Joe there, I'd love to see more predictions from the crowd as well. So send them in, Boomer. You can put them up there. Conservative Husker 30-14 Nebraska. Honestly, that 30-14 or a double-digit victory, I think Nebraska is going to play a really good football game. I think Colorado's going to get Nebraska's best effort this year, and I can't say that happened last year because of the turnovers and the self-inflicted wounds. I don't think that we're going to just be a sloppy team out there. And honestly, I guess, without throwing a specific score out there, I just think that we're going to handle them. I'm really confident that Nebraska is going to play a good football game in front of the crowd, in front of the lights, and at the national stage.
I will say Joel made a good point. The one good point I'll give him is that this is going to be Raiola's first big test, realistically. I think we're going to get some freshman errors. We might get a turnover. He might throw an interception. He might. I think he's pretty smart. I think he knows to throw the ball away, not to throw it into traffic. But I mean, we saw it almost happen against UTEP. So I think if we're being realistic, that's a thing that might happen, and we have to be prepared for that because this is a true test. But I'm with you. We tackle in the field, but we just make in space tackles better. It just seems like this team is clicking in a way that we haven't seen a Nebraska team click in a long time. Even last year, I feel like we didn't see it in the games that we won. It still didn't feel like an entire team. And it definitely felt that way. Again,
complimentary football, right?
Yes.
Complimentary football. So to your point, Abby, he conceivably, of course he can throw an interception, right? So
Shedeur threw one, and he's the best quarterback that's ever lived. So it's possible.
And if he throws one, in the past for Nebraska with our defenses, what would have happened is if we throw an interception, then it's just a guaranteed touchdown the other way, right? We screwed up, the team, the other side of the ball gets out there and we don't play complimentary football. We can't take the adversity and we give up something big. That doesn't happen. We had adversity last week. We fumbled when the game was tied 7-7. We fumbled in the red zone. I mean, that's a moment of, oh, great. There it goes again. And the defense comes on the field and that lousy defensive line got a tackle for a loss for a safety. 2 points, we get the ball back, and we score a touchdown there, and the game starts going away from it. I'm confident that even when those mistakes happen, I don't think we're going to play a mistake-free game, but I'm confident when a mistake does happen that this team has the leadership, this team has the ability, it has the talent, it has the depth, it has all those things. They played 25 guys on defense before the end of the first quarter, whatever it was. It was 20 some guys of defense Tony White already had out there. They're not just waiting to get up on a team. I mean, they've developed depth, and we're at a point right now. I mean, we need to play a game like Colorado. Number one, we don't need to play another UTEP this weekend. We need to play Colorado, but I just flat out I think that we're we're going to beat them handily. And I think we're going to beat them handily because the last 20 months lead me to this point. Dion hasn't built a program. He's rebooted his team twice. Rhule has literally taken the team down. He's dug down to build the foundation to build up from there. And we have an old team with a bunch of young guys behind them. And we're really old in the trenches, and that's a good thing in football. Colorado's not. I think that we're going to have a big advantage there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I guess, yeah, I would just to be nice, and some people are complaining we're homers and, we're being way too group thinky here. Do you think there's any concern at all that you have that this game turns out to be kind of like the 2010 Nebraska-Texas game, where that game was very emotional, the big lead up to it? The entire state was really convinced we were going to finally beat Texas on our way out the door in the Big 12. We were the better team that year in general. That was not a good Texas team. And then they come out and for whatever reason just play a crap game and end up losing at home.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because they have kind of that similar atmosphere, the build-up. There was a lot of emotion going into that game, and
I hate
the
you,
feeling around Lincoln was a little weird, that week. So just to show we're not all
It's not weird this week, though.
Here's
It's just
my
not
thing.
weird this week.
No, but so I understand that concern. And I think that's where a lot of my anxiety about this game comes from, is are we building it up, and is it too emotional, and is it going to be a lot? And then you think what brings me back a little bit from that is that, especially on defense, they've played high emotional games before. This isn't their first time playing a night game, a close game against a rival, that they've done that. They've lived through it. So I don't think the jitters will be there for them. I think we might see those things out of Dylan or some, but we've got playmakers who have done that, who have been on those big stages, or at least been in environments like that before, to where I don't think it's going to be I don't think they're going to come out that flat is my response.
The biggest difference to me, hands down, it's not even close between 2010 it's Matt Rhule and it's Bo Pelini.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo Pelini, it was a Jekyll and Hyde program under him, period. Not just from week to week. It wasn't week builds up. It was within games. Go back to when Melvin Gordon ran for 500 some yards on us, or whatever that number was. We were leading them 17-3 at one point. We were dominating them in that game. And then they get one long run, and Bo's yelling at the guys at the end of before the commercial break. He's yelling at the guys after the commercial break, and that team shut down. And you had teams that were completely built off emotion, built off of Bo's emotions. What was Matt Rhule talking about all day today in the press conference, but he's also been talking about for the last 20 months? It's about keeping your composure out there. He brought up Bud Crawford today. And what does Bud do in boxing, and how cool and calm, and how he stays steady the entire time. It's about being steady. Don't let the emotions get to you. This isn't what happened 10 years ago. It's not even what happened 2 or 3 years ago. That there are no curses. All the things that Coach Rhule's talked about. I guess the reason I'm not concerned about Nebraska, reverting back to something 11 years ago. I mean, it's so funny to me. People will pick and choose little narratives from years ago that we'll talk about with recruiting. Hey, Nebraska won X number of games so many years ago. Oh, well, those players, these guys are 18. They don't even remember when we were that good. Well, then who cares what happened in 2010? Do any of these players, 2010 Texas? What, are you kidding me? 14 years ago, these guys were in grade school. What does that have any relevance in this one here? It's all about, to me, what Coach Rhule has built for 20 months is what leads me to believe that this isn't going to happen. I will literally be shocked. I'll be the first one to come back here next week. I will come back. I will be shocked if we don't play a good football game. If we're making mistakes left and right against these guys. This is a program that has built itself up over 20 months of not having guys leave in the portal, of retaining players, recruiting guys we have some star talent too. We brought in some good guys too. Physical practices, tackling, all the things that are really important to me. That's what he's done. I guess that's a formula to me. I think we're going to win this game because of that stuff. I'm not seeing Colorado doing those same things. I'm seeing them screw up on the offensive line a year ago, get 8 sacks against them. So then they just reboot and they get rid of the whole offensive line, bring in a new one.
And I don't know. Yeah. And I think going along with that, I just think, and again, it's one game, I know, and I'm trying not to whatever, but even looking back at some of the games at the end of the year last year, it also seems like I have a thought on that, Joe. So let's calm down for a minute. It seems like we are a more disciplined team. We had one offensive line penalty last week? One. How long has it been since that's happened? So it seems like this team is like a little more dialed in and they're together. And I think you rewatch Colorado, and I'm really sorry, guys. They just looked undisciplined. They just were like missing their eyes were in the wrong place. They were missing players. They were whiffing on things. And I just don't think you saw that. And again, yes, North Dakota State, UTEP, ignoring all, we get all of that. That's all there. So I think that to me is the other thing that, like, as I worry about that, because I'm with you, Boomer, where there's a little bit of that, like, oh, what if this happens? Like, what if that's what ends up happening and how awful that would feel? I just feel like we've seen a team that at least looks to be more disciplined in how they act. And I think that's going to be a component and maybe a reason why that doesn't, even if maybe we come out a little flat, we don't stay flat. I think we'll get it.
Look, I saw this team up close and personal last weekend. And I have to tell you that from the minute they came out on the field, just kind of the way that they walked around the field as a team. I've been on the field before. I've been to other games, and I've seen the way that they warm up. I've seen the way that they come out together as a team. I've seen the way that they, come out against their opponent there. And the fact of the matter is everything felt so different last week. Everything felt so different. I mean, they came out together. They walked around the field together in large groups, like entire units. The entire defense at one point came out during like pregame warmups where they just came out just to kind of see the field after the unity walk, and on the field by himself, had his headphones in. He probably did, 4 or 5 laps around the field. The defense all together, the black shirts, all wearing, they were literally wearing black shirts on the field together, walking around the field, walking past the UTEP bench, just focused like I've never seen before. But the one thing that is different about this team from last year, and really the one thing that's going to make the most difference, is the quarterback play. Again, we're not going to see that kind of quarterback play this week like we did against CU last year, right? We're not going to see fumbles on like the 4-yard line or the 15-yard line. We're not going to see that coming out of there. I mean, this kid is as composed as any quarterback that I've seen on the college level over the years when he's up there. I mean, even on that one play where he got up to the line, the mics were shut off. They basically told him a couple days before the game, hey, look, if you see this formation, this is the play that we're going to audible to. He got up to the line. He moved his running back and forth probably 3 or 4 times before the play was even off. Handed the ball off to him. That was the big run. You know what I mean? And he knew that basically what to look for on the defense. We didn't have that last year. You know, we had a guy that basically I think wanted to run first and pass second. And then everything after that, when we went on to Harburg, I mean, Harburg was great running the ball, running the option, doing things like that. But he does not have the passing game that Rhule has. And he doesn't have the running game behind him that didn't have the running game behind him that we have this year. I don't know what's going on in the chat.
Rob, we probably have met the Redcast Rob of SCO Buff Nation. Drewski, was that his name?
Yeah. So, what's up, Drewski?
That is we will
that
probably
is true though. No. He is right, Boomer. That is a nice mustache.
That is a great mustache. But no, look, more than anything,
that's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I'm just really comfortable with where we're at. This isn't so much about Colorado, to be 100% honest with you. I'm really comfortable with where Nebraska's at, ready to play this. And that, I think for me, that's the biggest thing. A couple of updates before we go into our final segment here. This is just from today's presser with Rhule. So it's a couple of logistics here. The running back rotation, he said it will be similar to what it was last week. I certainly expect to start seeing Dowdell getting back in there. He's fulfilled his punishment for the fumble. Bly Hill, Henry Lutovsky, Gunnar Gotula, they're ready to play. Tristan Alvano will be the field goal kicker. This is a dynamic of the game. It's going to be a night game at Nebraska. It's supposed to be loud. Coach Rhule said the loudest stadium he's ever heard was Penn State when he played there with Temple. And so I think that we have a great opportunity, Husker Nation, to to beat that. He also said Javen Wright is trending positively. He had a very good report this morning. So I don't know. I don't think that would mean anything for this weekend. But hey, you know, as we're looking a couple weeks down the road, that he could start to get back out there on the field. So my biggest takeaway from that is be loud, be proud, buy your balloons, be ready to throw them up there. I think we're going to come out and play a good game of football, and I think that's going to be enough to do it. Let's move on here. Let's go into our brand new volleyball segment here, and we're calling this Courtside Cooking. And it's been a fun little week here. You know, Abby, you have started up a great show here, the Husker Huddle, and that's a great show where you can do it separate from the Redcast, have an hour interview, bring people on. We've got, in fact, I think you have an interview. Are you ready to announce it for next week?
We sure can. Yeah. Thursday, we are going to have Amy Just on to talk volleyball and soccer, because she also has been very helpful in helping to understand soccer as well. So we'll be talking about the season so far, the volleyball documentary, just kind of all things soccer and volleyball on Thursday.
So Amy Just of the Lincoln Journal-Star there. So Courtside Cooking. Not a very eventful volleyball week, right? Just had a little trip down to SMU and we lost a game. I mean, gasp. We've lost a game, Husker Nation, and yes. I think people are about ready to jump off a building there for a second.
Fire John Cook now.
But Abby, we came back tonight. We swept the Citadel. Talk to us a little bit about the first couple of weeks here of volleyball.
Yeah. So, oh man, I'll be honest, and Amy kind of pointed this out too. Is I'm not gonna lie, a loss was coming. A loss has been coming for a while. I don't think people really thought it was going to be to SMU. We've got a couple more big games. I think we've got like Stanford and Louisville and Creighton who are ranked. And I think people thought like the loss may come there. The reality is if you've watched this team play, they've been hesitant. It feels like they've been a little hesitant on offense this year, that it just doesn't feel like they're playing with the same intensity consistently. What was disappointing with the SMU loss, and yes, that is of course disappointing, losing ever, getting swept ever by an unranked team, all of that sucks. Caveat is that I think SMU is going to be ranked next week, not just because they beat us. They were already getting votes, so they're a pretty good team. All of that sucks. I think what was the most disappointing is that our defense was like not really in it in the same way. And we were making those service errors, those serve receive errors, things that are not characteristic of our teams. I mean, we haven't been great with service errors. We made them a lot last year too. So I was really disappointed to see that continue. But it was going back, it was a lot like Colorado's offense, where like, if you're so one-dimensional, which we kind of have been because our offense has been so hesitant, one or two bad couple of plays and you're vulnerable. And that's what we saw happen, is just we were vulnerable and it bit us. How much of that is, like John Cook said, like how much of that is just expectations? Did the team come in and just be like, well, it's SMU, we're Nebraska, whatever, was there some apathy, some of that maybe. And so it looks like, the Citadel is, last year they were one of the last unranked or unbeaten teams, just like us. So they're not a bad team. They're returning a lot of those same players. They're a pretty good team. So being able, I think, to come back with the intensity that they did and being able to sweep and win big is maybe a sign that, maybe that loss will help. And they'll get back to being like, hey, expectations are gone, but okay, you've lost now. So now you get to just go out and play volleyball. You don't have to try to do what you did last season and get all the way to November without a loss. You've lost. You can bounce back. Let's go play our game. And so that's what I'm really hoping to see, throughout this week as we get ready to get into Big Ten play, is do they get that intensity back that they had last year? It was so fun to watch them play so freely last year that I'm hoping that has, that whatever whatever talking to they got from Papa Cook, which I imagine was a lot of "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed" vibes. Have they've internalized it, right? And they understand that that's on them. So
yeah, I think intensity is an interesting word because a lot of Husker volleyball fans also are converted over from football fans. And those football fans of 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 years, you can't lose a football game. You lose a game early in the season, season's over. This is volleyball. There's going to be a lot of games, so you're going to lose a couple. Most teams lose a few in the season.
Yeah.
And
Texas lost already this season.
Yeah.
They lost to Minnesota.
And last year, Texas lost to Long Beach State. They weren't ranked. And then look how they did. So, you don't want to make that comparison, but you're absolutely, it's like baseball, right? I mean, I remember hearing it from you guys in the baseball season last year of well, they lost the first, in the early part of the season, throw away the season. They're no good. And it's guys, it's a very long season. We're going to lose more games. We're going to lose conference games. I think we have to be ready for that. And I think last year was really special. I don't think everybody understands how special it was as it was happening to win that many games in a row. We could have lost at any time. And so that was really, really special. And we should appreciate that. But we should also know that is not normal. That is not typical for Nebraska, for any volleyball program. It's just not. I mean, look at Wisconsin. They were 0-3. They're still a really good volleyball team, guys. They could still beat us.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams too out there, and this harkens back to the SMU game, where there's a lot of volleyball teams where people just hear a college name and they automatically assume that, oh, how good are they at sports? You know what I mean? But I mean, if I recall, SMU are they a Texas school? Is that where they're located?
They're in Dallas, yeah.
They're in Dallas, right? And that's where it was. And Texas is a huge volleyball state, and that's where they're recruiting out of, right? And there are volleyball schools everywhere where you wouldn't expect. I mean, hell, the UNC girls, UNC Bears, right up here, a mile from me, they beat Michigan State earlier this week, right? They beat them 3-1. It wasn't even really a close match. It was I believe that it was kind of like a gentle ladies sweep. Is that what you would call it in this one? And then of course, then they lost to Florida. But I mean, still, my point is that Florida's the number 11 team in the country, and you still get a really closely contested match in these games. And so Nebraska lost, big deal. But what they're doing to their opponents, though, when they are winning, is something that you don't see in a lot of these other matches that you watch with these other teams. And thanks to Abby, I have been watching a lot of those, like the Wisconsins and the Texas and the UNC women's volleyball on ESPN Plus. I mean, it's all of these games on, I'm scrolling through TV trying to find something to watch, and I see a random volleyball match on, and I will click on that to watch it, which is who am I? What am I doing here? I'd rather watch this than some random NAIA football game that I used to maybe watch in the back of the day. So,
and there's a lot of talent. There's lot more parity. There's a lot more parity in volleyball over the last few years than there has been. Teams are good, and that's great. That's so much better for the sport.
It is.
Even I know it would be nice if we could always win everything. Obviously, we want to. But just in general, it's so much better for the sport that teams like SMU are up and coming. Teams like Purdue is ranked 8th. That's awesome. That's so good for them. And you know what? Cal pushed them. Cal pushed them to 4, and those were close sets. Don't tell Dustin. He was very mad about the whole thing. But that's what I mean. So even all of these teams are building, and they're getting better, and we're getting more of these resources. So we're going to see this more often. And I am just asking Husker Nation, be mad, be upset, be frustrated. It was all of those things. All of that is valid. You can be very annoyed with how they played. It's fair. I'm sure they were
validating my feelings, Abby. I do appreciate you.
But the sky is the sky falling though? Is the sky falling?
No, not yet. Not
there
yet.
You go.
Let's go. Let's get through our non-conference and see kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see it. Look, the conference is going to be hard, guys. The ACC is a great volleyball conference. Big Ten is a great volleyball conference. Those are the two. I still think Big Ten runs volleyball. Personal bias, whatever. But we play ACC teams coming up, and those are going to be tough too. So let's get through their non-con. Let's and then take a breath, and we'll be able to gauge from there. We're gonna make it into the postseason, guys. We're gonna make it. It's gonna be okay.
So
Redcast Abby, the voice of reason for Husker volleyball.
Yeah,
I'm a psychologist, so that's the one thing that I can.
That's true. And you're a literal psychologist doctor. So I guess yeah.
I'm not good at doing it, but I'm real good at giving that advice. Yeah.
Roster wise, if you were watching a lot of last season Husker fans, I mean, Bergen Riley's back, Rebecca Alec, Merritt Beeson there, Andy Jackson, Lindy Krause, Harper Murray, all, you have a lot of that back. A couple of the new pieces, Abby, Taylor Landfair from the transfer from Minnesota. Then Skylar Pierce. She was the All-American coming in there. What contributions have they made so far coming onto the team? I mean, have they played a big role yet, or where have they been?
So Skylar hasn't. Volleyball's a really weird sport, and I think this is going to change. There were some rumors that it's going to change. Volleyball, I think, is if you play at all, you burn your red shirt.
Okay.
So I would not be surprised if Skylar doesn't play this year. That is my guess. Given the amount of depth we have on the outside, I would guess that Skylar doesn't play this year. I don't know. So she hasn't contributed to the games yet. Taylor, here's, I think, the only problem I have with our transfers. I think they're both great. Taylor and Layla Blackwell are both phenomenal athletes. They're great. They're good when they get in. I think it's hard to integrate one or two pieces in. I think Merritt was kind of an anomaly last year, getting her to come in so seamlessly. But when Taylor's good. There is a reason that she was the Big Ten Player of the Year a couple years ago. She's good. She'll get better.
Didn't she come in tonight? I think she played tonight.
Yeah,
And her first two touches were kills. And they were phenomenal kills too. Okay, sorry. I'm remembering players too, but I was watching the match tonight while doing some housework and getting ready for the show. And she came in and they talked about it, and I immediately perked up and I was like, who is this? I haven't heard that name. And then realized that I think this was her first match getting in, and she came in and contributed immediately, or at least I don't know.
Played. She played.
Maybe it was her just getting in for the first time tonight, and it was in the second game too, so it wasn't immediately.
Yeah, she played in the TCU game. I think it was TCU game, but didn't actually get to hit, which was very odd. She's a very, very prolific hitter. She played against SMU and had some really good shots. Again, she's very talented. We are kind of blessed in that department. To have that. And Layla was the MWC Defensive Player of the Year, or led them in blocks or something amazing like that. She also was a very, very good middle. We just happen to have Andy Jackson and Rebecca Alex. So they will contribute. They're going to contribute a lot. Olivia Mock is out playing a ton, and she is growing so much. My personal opinion that she's going to end up being the DS next year, or the libero next year. She's contributing and doing really good. That's a tough position to come into. So these new players we have that are playing are contributing, and they're doing a great job. The problem, I think, is going to be getting them to gel and inconsistently enough to where they I'm going to say gel again because so much of volleyball is consistency and who you work with a lot and who you're next to a lot and all of that. So it'll come. I mean, I think it'll come. I think we'll be okay. We'll be fine, guys.
Yep.
Hey, are you convincing us or yourself? That's what I want to know.
I'm convincing you guys, man.
He's convincing redcasters and social media and all that. Abby, you said we were blessed to have these players. We were blessed to have you, Redcast Abby, join us so that we can do courtside cooking. That has not that was not been our specialty in the past in the Redcast, and we've had a lot of requests from fans to be able to add content like that. So we appreciate that. And also the Husker Huddle, which is up there also on our top band of shows. The Husker Huddle, again, you're going to be doing a show with Amy Just from Lincoln Journal-Star, and that'll be next Thursday. Do you know what time yet, or is that still getting figured out?
I don't think it's 8 or 9. It'll be in the evening sometime. But we'll get it solidified and post about it on Twitter.
If you haven't already watched it, Redcasters, we have them on our YouTube channel, and we have a playlist even for those. So you can go just to the Husker Huddle ones. But we've done one, a volleyball 101 preseason one, and then did a soccer one as well. And so that's the kind of content that show can create. But there's no reason that we can't incorporate some of that into the weekly Redcast.
And I'm enjoying being a part of those too, because I'm really enjoying just sitting back and listening to the ladies talk about the sports. And it's also kind of pushing my boundaries, I would say too, as far as like, what I am learning about, especially about volleyball. That Volleyball 101 episode was probably one of the best episodes that the Redcast overall as a group has over the last year, as far as if you want to look at something that was educational and worth watching from the beginning to the end, right? There wasn't like one or two segments you wanted to watch because it was like super informative. Shout out to Abby for the PowerPoint presentation that she put together for that one, but it was great. It's almost like you almost want to have to watch it on YouTube, and which you can find our YouTube channel on multiple places now. You can find us on HuskerMax, Character Chronicles, and over at Heard At, and on our YouTube channel. So it's like there's so many places to find it, but it's worth the watch. I don't know how else to put that. And it was fantastic just sitting down with Abby for an hour and 5 minutes or something like that, and just talking volleyball, because it got me pumped. All of a sudden, I'm like I said, I find myself watching random games that I wouldn't or random matches that I wouldn't normally be watching. So it's great. I love it. It's the best sport out there for action.
All right. Well, we have covered a lot of content here. We just went over an hour. Let's get to our parting shots here. And you know what? We'll start with Redcast Abby.
Oh, no. I screwed up the first one. Why are you making me go first this time?
Oh, we believe in you. We believe in you.
I really, really appreciate that. My parting shot is going to be kind of what it always is. Calm down about volleyball. It's okay. The sky's not falling. John Cook is still a very good coach. This is still a very good team. Deep breaths, and let's just get through this week.
All right. Redcast Rob.
I just want to give a few shout outs to people, and I'm sorry if I sound like I'm just dropping names all over the place, but as many of you listeners know, I was at the game as a member of the media this last weekend, and I just want to give a shout out to people like Sip, to Damon Benning. I want to give a shout out to Adam Carricker. I want to give a shout out to Aaron Sorensen, and to Eric Francis, the photographer for Hale Varsity. All those guys were super hospitable to me when I saw them over there. I always have questions, especially at Husker games. They treat the media a lot differently there. You're not given as much of like a free reign of the field as you normally are. And it's really, 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 really educational, I guess, to be out there on the field and seeing what's going on, but to be that close and seeing some of the matchups and everything, and just kind of being able to ask the questions to those people to make sure that, I'm getting out the best content that I can get for this show. I just the warmest thank you that I can possibly give out there to those people. And I'm looking forward to going back out again next Friday, where Honky and I will be meeting up again for another show before the game. Hopefully Boomer can join us. I know Redcast Talon will be there. We'll be at the beer house probably between 1 and 3 on Saturday afternoon prior to the game. So come up there, enjoy one of their great beers, and hang out with us.
Outstanding. Boomer, take us out of here.
Okay, well, I don't have anything quite as exciting or dramatic as Rob there, but I just want to say I know it is Colorado week, and hopefully everyone stays relatively calm. But I do want to thank Rob for bringing this out. Not everything out of Colorado was bad. He did bring us. They're not really a sponsor, but they do provide free booze from 477 Distilling in Greeley. They gave me a bottle of their summer gin to try and sample. So it's not as juniper heavy as some gins that you might have out there. It's got a little lighter. It's got, I'd say, notes of hibiscus and kind of a citrus, maybe lime, if you're into that. So if you're not, if you don't think you're a gin fan and, try something like this, you might enjoy it. I did mix it to a little Redcast on the rocks tonight. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's their summer gin mixed with peach simple syrup, ginger beer, and lemon juice, and then garnished with some blueberries and mint. So if anyone has a name for it, feel free to throw it out there on our social media, and I'll take pictures and quote it. So.
Yep, and they will be a sponsor soon enough. I know that they're working with the good people over there at Heard At, and Matt and I, the owner, Matt Estrin, will and I are working out something as well. And if you happen to see 477 distributed anywhere out there in Nebraska, and you're at a store and you buy one of their bottles, or you're in a bar somewhere and you see their bottle and you order a drink with that, and you take a picture and you tag them, 477 Distillery, on their Instagram, Facebook. They don't have a Twitter yet, but if you tag them and tag me on there, I'll make sure that they get it. They will send you a free t-shirt like the one that I wore this weekend, where the front of it says whiskey because no good conversation started with over a glass of milk. And then on the back of the shirt, it says 477 to Nebraska and has the state of Nebraska outline on it, all in Husker red. And that's their promotion that they're trying to do. So make sure that you go out there and support them because they're supporting us.
All right. Thank you. And, speaking of gin, Boomer, I had to bring up yours here. Boomer makes his own gin. This is legit. How do you pronounce that?
Livery. It's French for greyhound. So.
Yeah. So Boomer has always, you guys have always had the Italian greyhounds, right?
Oh, we have full size ones too.
Oh, you have full size. Oh, of course.
Yeah, you remember Spot. Yeah, and Trixie, and all right.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was good. I mean, I'm out halfway down with it. Had a couple of martinis, and they were very good. Well done, Boomer. My take here is this isn't to me about being objective or subjective or anything about it. I'm just really comfortable with where this program is at right now. Everything from watching the Chasing Threes and watch the latest one that came out this week, how Rhule talks to his team when he talks about process, very Osborne-esque, quite honestly. I was asked to compare how we might do versus like how a Bo Pelini team did in this. I don't see Matt Rhule and Coach Pelini coaching the team the same way at all, but I see elements of what Coach Osborne did with his team and focusing on staying in the present and getting better from week to week and not getting into all the hoopla and everything that is surrounding a big game like this. I think our team's going to come out and play a really good football game. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. They're going to play physically. They're going to make Colorado earn everything they get. And none of that is to sit there and say that Colorado is this talentless team that can't, compete with us. Of course they can. And if we play this good, solid game, and we don't turn the ball over and we tackle well, and we do all those fundamental pieces well, and Colorado still goes out and beat us, I will literally do what the prayer says before every game. I will cheer as the winner goes by. But I don't see that happening. I see us playing a really good football game. And I think we're going to be a lot more physical, way more physical than what Colorado wants to play. And I think that one of their biggest threats on their team in Hunter is somebody that you can neutralize a lot by what you do offensively against him by just pounding him play after play after play within the rules. And so at the end of the day, I think that we'll take a very similar approach to what we did a year ago with a much better team and without the turnover issue, and we'll just go from there. I wouldn't put this on the back of a freshman quarterback. I don't think we need to. I think we have a four-headed running attack that can run on these guys. I think we can get big. We can get a lot of different sets out there with a lot of different types of body types and talent. And I think we're going to do just fine. And defensively, I think this is going to be a real salty defense all season long. And it's going to be fun to watch them go against a high-powered offense right away in week 2. So anyways, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? And I'm sure that, Joe Schmo and all those guys will be back next week to let me hear about it. And that's fine. If that's what happens, that's what happens. But I also hope you come back, Joe Schmo and Desiree or whoever the other guy was. I hope that they come back as well so that if Nebraska wins and wins convincingly, that, they can tell us their thoughts then. So until next week, for Redcast Abby, Redcast Boomer, Redcast Rob, that's another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.